So you've just cleaned the rust off your classic car project with phosphoric acid. Great. Problem solved, right? Nope. Chances are you have this white, dusty phosphate crust covering everything. And that's the world's least helpful seasoning. If you leave it on and shoot epoxy over it, you're rolling the dice of when your paint will fail. And that's what this video is about, how to clean up the mess that phosphoric acid made. This is Andy with Rust Wars. Let's get to it. So what exactly is this stuff? It's phosphate residue left behind after phosphoric acid treatment. It can also include dried acid and other junk mixed in, but the important point is that it's not clean steel. And that matters because epoxy wants direct contact with clean, stable metal, and this residue is a dusty, weak layer. So instead of the primer bonding directly to steel, the primer bonds to this residue, and if the residue lets go, your paint lets go with it. It's sort of like dusting a cake pan with flour. To see epoxy failure over acid, take a look at Dennis's video here, and I've also linked to it. Or a bad case of acid residue, take a look at Eric's Camaro over here.
As I rinse the car, and I come back, and there's more stuff.
And also link to it. This is what failure looks like when coatings are applied over contamination. So what's the solution? How do we get the clean, shiny metal? We need to neutralize, dissolve, and wash this crust away. I've developed an easy to replicate formula for wash, and if you're only interested in this formula, go ahead and skip ahead to time index, whatever this is, or keep watching for the science behind how I developed this. So how do we get the clean steel? My first instinct was just rinse it off with water, but that obviously didn't work. Water wasn't removing it so much as redistributing the mess and making rust. The next obvious idea I tried was more phosphoric acid. This sounds reasonable right up until it starts reacting with the steel and making even more phosphate residue. More phosphoric acid has a way of turning small problems into bigger problems. Well, the obvious fixes are traps. At this point, it was clear the job was not just to attack this harder with acid. The real job was to break up the iron phosphate, grab the iron, and turn the whole mess into something soluble enough to actually wash away. Could I have gone with other acids? Technically, yes, in the same way a chainsaw is technically a solution to a houseplant problem. Hydrochloric and sulfuric bring their own corrosion and residue issues, especially in seams. Hydrofluoric, yeah, good luck with that. Nope, this needs controlled chemistry, not brute force. So, at this point, I decided to do what any reasonable person would do. I decided to fuck around and find out, or in other words, science.
Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science.
Science isn't just sitting around knowing things. Science is controlled FAFO. First, you observe, you form an idea, and you test it. And here, we know that acids weren't going to work, so we're going to try chelation. Citrate is a well-known iron chelator. However, we have a bit of a challenge. If we look at the solubility of iron phosphate, which is this stuff, we can see that it's soluble in really acidic or really low pH environments, and then that solubility rapidly drops so it comes out and then forms this crusty powder when the pH rises. However, citric acid is the exact opposite. Citric acid is not effective at low pHs, and it's only when the pH starts rising that citric acid changes to a form where it can really grab onto that iron and latch onto it. So what we need to do is find a balance where we balance the solubility of the phosphate against the effectiveness of the citrate, and that's what these experiments will tell us. So in this experiment, we're going to figure out where citrate is most effective against the iron phosphate. So let's break out the test tubes. These are great because they let us fail faster. I first added some iron phosphate powder to these test tubes, and then I varied the pH and citrate concentration to find a good region where the phosphate is soluble and the citrate is effective. So the key is we're not looking for the strongest concentration. We're looking for the most effective balance.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
I found that a pH of around 5 works really well, but there are a couple more secret ingredients in this formula that we're going to get to in a second when we do the garage testing. Side note, I also tried EDTA. We think that would be effective, but it really just wasn't, and I'm not really sure why, but I tried EDTA and it didn't work. Okay then, the test tubes were cute, but steel panels are where bad ideas are going to get exposed. So I made the problem worse on purpose. Here, I started with a set of freshly prepared steel samples. I sandblasted them, and then I hit them with a phosphoric acid, and I rinsed them with water and I let them dry. Basically the worst case of what happens in real life. This is important because this shows what a water-only rinse looks like, and this is what it leaves behind. Here, I start spraying the different test solutions on the samples, and we're going to let them dry and compare the results. Finally, we get to the winning mixture. The process becomes predictable. Instead of spreading the mess around and recreating it, we're actually able to completely dissolve and remove that slush away and end up with a clean, shiny steel surface that's basically ready for the next step of bodywork. Okay then, the results. First, 5% citric acid. This just mostly moved the residue around, and on top of that, it started flash rusting. Not a good start. Then, the same 5% citric acid, but with a rinse of ammonia and triethanolamine. This got rid of the flash rust problem, but it still left too much of the phosphate residue around. Better, but not good enough. I'll get to what triethanolamine is when I describe the formula here in a minute, but don't worry, it's cheap and easy. Then raising the pH with sodium hydroxide, i.e. drain cleaner, or ammonia helped. The steel got brighter, the residue started to let go, but so at least we're moving in the right direction. Here, raising the citric acid concentration really didn't buy anything. Stronger wasn't smarter. Then came the real breakthrough, ZEP. And this led to the real winner, a 50-50 mix of ZEP and distilled water, 5% citric acid, triethanolamine with a pH of around 5.5. This was the first mixture that really cleaned the panels. It left a bright, clean steel without any flash rust. In other words, the winning solution was not the angriest one, but rather the one with the smartest chemistry. And now, on to the formula. Okay then, let's cook. So we're going to make the actual formula. I'm going to put the recipe here on the screen somewhere. We're going to make a liter, or right about a quart. And I'll go over these ingredients in a minute, but basically we have 500 milliliters distilled water, 500 milliliters ZEP, purple power, really important, 5 milliliters triethanolamine. Again, you can buy this on Amazon. It's cheap. 50 grams citric acid. Okay. So, 500 milliliters water. This creates the solution. And we're going to shoot for a pH of right around 5.5-ish or so. All right. The ZEP. This stuff is really non-negotiable. So we're going to bring this up to about a liter there. All right. Why ZEP instead of plain old sodium hydroxide drain cleaner, even though they both are based on the same ingredient and they do the same basic job of providing alkalinity? Electrolytes. That's why.
The Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
But no, seriously, the main reason we use ZEP is because it adds a lot of surfactants and it lowers the surface tension, so that really helps to dig in and break up that phosphate or rust film. I've tested both, And there's a huge difference between ZEP and plain old hydroxide, non-negotiable. All right, the next ingredient is triethanolamine, really commonly used corrosion inhibitor, available on Amazon. This is the primary corrosion inhibitor in dustless blasting, and also mass spec analysis has shown that this is one of the main ingredients in evaporust. I have a suspicion, not sure, I have a suspicion that there's some sort of synergistic effects going on between the citrate and the triethanolamine. So really important. All right, now the citric acid. This is the main ingredient here. This is the chelator that we're using to grab that iron. And we need 50 grams out of this. So we're just going to weigh this out on a plain old scale here. Actually, put this down. And 50 grams here gives us right around a 5% solution. So again, from our testing, that was the sweet spot. And mix this up. And put in 5 milliliters of the triethanolamine. And so this gives me right around a 200-to-1 ratio here. Really dilute, but still really important. All right, so now we're going to do a quick pH test. You do need these pH test strips. And let's see, so we are at right around a pH of, like I said, between a 5 and a 6, right around a 5.5 to 6-ish. So now we are ready to use this. We're going to pour this into a bottle here, and now we're going to do some actual real testing and showing some results and cleaning this crusty engine bay. So here's the wash from rinsing the test panels. As we can see, it's this wonderful bright green color. That means the citrate is working and it's pulled the iron into solution. So how is this formula different than Carlo on Backyard Ballistics formula? Well, they're both based on citric acid, but Carlo's is at a much higher concentration designed for removing heavy rust and soaking. This formula here is designed as a wash for removing crusty phosphate residue and getting us ready for paint. We also add a corrosion inhibitor, wetting agents, and surfactants for breaking up that residue. That being said, this does in fact remove lighter rust, and we'll see how that works in the car. I did go ahead and try it on some heavier rust, like this crusty harmonic balancer hub, just to see what it would do. And even at this really low concentration, it did a pretty impressive job of removing really heavy rust on this. This certainly needs further testing on heavy rust removal by soaking or a recirculating wash. And here we are, the payoff. We cleaned the front half of the engine bay with a final version of the ZEP citrate formula. Same for inside of the fender wells and the cowl area. And we have clean, shiny steel ready for the next step of bodywork. All right, so the procedure I used was first spray on the ZEP citrate, scrub it around if you can, let it sit for a minute or two and keep scrubbing. Then rinse it off with plain water. This is important because this stuff will get soapy and you need to rinse all that soapy stuff off. Super important now, rinse again with the ammonia triethanolamine rinse, or TEA. This stuff is super critical because this contains the corrosion inhibitor that stops flash rust. Spray this on really, really well. Just keep flushing it with this. Then blow it dry. Okay, now before you paint, give it a final alcohol rinse and a final wipe down with wax and grease remover, and then you're good for epoxy primer. Now, this stuff is not some miracle rust annihilator. If you have serious corrosion or heavy pitting, that's not what this is for. That's what stronger acids or recirculating chelating systems are for. This stuff is for cleaning up the aftermath of phosphoric acid cleaning and getting us ready for the next stage of body work without flash rusting. And that's really the whole point of this video. We observed the problem, we came up with a bunch of solutions, we tested them, and then we kept the one that actually worked. Can this formula be improved? Almost certainly. Science is never really done, but for now, this works, it's tested, it's repeatable, and it solved the problem I had. Next time, we're back to sparks and steel. The upper engine bay frame rails are rusted, so we're going to make some patterns, figure out how to shape the repair pieces, and get them welded in. The left side is ready, so we're going to make a right side mirror of this and get them both burned in. As usual, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you found this content useful, consider a subscribe, and see you next time.